Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bobble Pod on episode 13 of season 3. And we're having a really good season so far. We're going to be talking about what does a recession mean for your business. But before we begin, as always, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe on our podcast platforms. If you're on YouTube, hello YouTube. Don't forget to press the subscribe button, follow our channel, and get the notification bell switched on so you can be updated when the next episodes come out. They come out every week on a Tuesday. Formalities done. Back to the actual episode in hand. So this is going to be a fun one because the minute Callum walked in, I was like, I got a lot of controversial stuff to say. And he was already giving me the eyes. Don't worry, it's not going to be like the whole Google rant anymore. But the topic of this episode is what does a recession mean for your business? And the reason I'm talking about that is today's recording date is the 9th of August, and we obviously record beforehand and do our research beforehand before we launch episodes. A bit like, the Graham Norton Show comes out on a Friday, but recorded on a Thursday. The Bank of England announced it, that actually we will be in a recession by the end of the year, if not early 2023, and it'll last until 2024. Now, obviously, alarm bells ringing, businesses, what do you do? What can I go? What does it mean for my business? In the short term, just some stats that I've been pulling out. Inflation is expected to rise to 10.2 in Q4, and that's mainly due to the energy bill increase and the cost of living crisis we've got right now. And the people to blame for that is your government, nobody else. And this is an interesting stat because I always talk about, when I talked about with Gareth Healy, the most difficult element I face as an agency owner is recruitment. Unemployment is expected to rise from 3.8% to 5.5% by 2025. So that means more and more people over the next 2-3 years are going to become unemployed as opposed to employed, which puts more pressure on the skilled workforce being needed. Now, in the next 10-15 minutes, I'm going to talk about what does a recession mean for your business? What will this impact for you? It's not all doom and gloom. But before I start off, we're in this position. And I have to be careful what I say before Callum gives me the evil eyes, it's due to the incompetency of our government. Okay, yes, we've had Brexit. Okay, yes, we've had a pandemic. But if you really go as far back as the last time we had a decent, stable government, which was before the Brexit vote, and before any Brexiteers come in and say, oh, it was good for the country, I was pro-Brexit. So I voted for it, not because of immigration, because my family were immigrated into this country, but for other reasons in terms of the opportunity it would lead if I potentially have a family and the future generations of this country. You've got so many independent countries out there that are able to build their own, resources, build their own trade agreements. We shouldn't have to rely on 20 other EU countries to work together, and we can still build relationships. It was more for economical potential business reasons that I thought as a business owner, yes, that would serve better purpose for me. And politics is all about your own personal opinion. Now, people can come in and, if you want to try and cancel me, unsubscribe because of what I just said there. I didn't say anything out of line there. I'm just giving my opinion and one of the reasons why I voted for it. Has it been executed well? No. Is that the fault of everyone who voted for Brexit? No. Was the campaign by Brexit good? No. Did I agree with the messages on the bus? No. Did I agree with Boris Johnson? No. Or Nigel Farage? No. Am I the supporters? Hell no. But it comes down to, at the end of the day, since that point, and the reason I'm mentioning Brexit like this is that is a fundamental element of where things have started to spiral down because it wasn't executed well, because we've had incompetent leaders in the form of Theresa May, Boris Johnson, and now I've been given a slip through the post where I'm asked, who do I want to be the next Prime Minister, Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak? And I'm just going to rip it up and throw it in the bin because neither of them are competent enough to run this country in what is the most difficult time for the average household income in the UK, especially those that are under the poverty line. I mean, it takes people like Rashford from Manchester United, and I'm a Liverpool fan, to do a campaign just to get school meals and to get them on board with that. So I know what I'm saying might be hypocritical, that, I'm a bit of a, conservative, pro-Brexit, but that doesn't mean I'm not human. I vote on policies that impact my life financially. That's what I encourage anyone to do. Execute your vote in the best position in terms of how it's going to help improve your life, whether that is the majority of the vote or not. As long as you execute your vote, whether you vote Green Party, whatever it is, as long as it's for you, you vote for yourself, not what other people tell you to do. That is democracy. That's what you should do. But unfortunately, we've been left with incompetent leaders, and that's why we're where we are right now. And if it's going to be a mild recession, which is what I'm hearing, I listened to a podcast which Elon Musk was on, and he's like, it's a mild podcast. It won't be that bad, but it will last a while, maybe longer than 2024. Whereas we're a micro business, we're an SME, and actually most of our listeners are SME owners and business owners, people in marketing, and it's going to have a big impact. The key things it's going to lead to is job losses. There's going to be manufacturing slower down. There's going to be a decline in consumer spending, and there's going to be a real decline in the real income that people earn. That's overall what a recession means for people. And it comes down to facts like over the last 2-3 months, I've seen cost to us as an agency increase. Every supplier come up to me and say, all right, we're going to have to reassess our costs. We're going to have to reassess our costs, because without reassessing your costs, you can't provide better wages for people. You can't maintain that level of profitability, because one of the key things that's going to come in a recession with businesses, cash is going to be king. And businesses will have money to spend, but what's really going to happen is they will still be willing to spend it, but it all comes down to whether they can trust you with their money at that time. So it's not about when it comes to marketing. It's like, well, there's going to be clients out there that still want to invest in marketing, launch new products and elements like that. But it's going to come down to the fact that, can they trust you with that money in a time where they're going to be cutting back on, wage bills and elements like that, making tough decisions. They're going to have to make longer decisions. And what that means is it's going to take longer for us to onboard clients, because we're going to have to do a lot more due diligence. We're going to have to do a lot more time and effort into things that we wouldn't normally do. I mean, we do a great pitch. We do a great free audit and a strategy as an agency. And you're more than welcome to, question anyone that we've done it for in terms of the depth that we do. It's not like a 75-page document as a minimum, where we do a full competitor analysis, audience analysis, then recommend our actual channel strategy, individual audits around SEO, PPC, and then what they should do in those channels. Very, very comprehensive. It takes us about 90 minutes minimum to present to a client. It's less of a pitch as opposed to, here's where you are, here's what your audience is doing, here's what you're doing wrong, and here's what you could be doing better. And that's what businesses want to know. And it's detailed. And because it's detailed, they then have the trust that we've done our due diligence and we've gone that extra mile in doing it. And that was complimentary. Normally, if I was to charge that, I could easily charge it for $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. But it's elements like that. So for businesses, what it really means, business like me, anyone who runs a business, what it means is reduce profits, credit crunch, because lending is going to become a lot more difficult, a lot more stringent to who they lend to, specifically smaller businesses. The bigger businesses will be okay. A reduction in cash flow, as I mentioned, cash is going to be king. Drop in stock prices. So if you're one of the FTSE 500 or any other listed company, you're going to see stock share prices generally drop off. That's what happens in a natural recession. There's going to be decline in product quality. So if you're an e-commerce client and you're getting products shipped in, be prepared to have more returns and more potential customer complaints. And the reason that's going to happen is because of the manufacturing slowdown I mentioned earlier, is as one of the side effects of the recession. So with manufacturing slowed down, a reduction in quality of products being produced, which leads to more products being broken, issues, more warranties being issued, more insurance companies. It's just the rolling ball, like a snowball. Each element impacts a different element that you haven't considered or thought about in that element. Now, I've been asked this question quite a lot recently in terms of like, is there going to be a recession? Well, we already know there's going to be. The Bank of England has announced we're going to be in there. Will it be a really, really bad recession now? I'm no financial advisor. I can't advise. I don't know. I just read the elements and get my information where I advise everyone else to do. So go online, have a look, read, understand what the Bank of England is saying, listen to, articles like Financial Times. When I was getting some stats, I ended up on The Guardian, and The Guardian blamed the war in Ukraine for the recession. My personal opinion is that that's not true. It's the fact that we lifted the budget cap on energy bills. I mean, I watched this video of people in France and their actual real energy bill costs and how there's a cap on how much they pay and how it's all government focused. And basically, the profit that the company makes goes back into keeping energy bills low in France. Does anyone want to guess what one of the companies are that is a French company that actually operates in the UK?
Is it EDF?
Yes, EDF made around about 300 plus million profit from energy prices last year. Do you know where that went? Back into France to keep the France's population energy costs low. It's ridiculous. We're letting other countries come into the UK, sell energy to us, and use the profits from our household incomes to keep their countries. It's just, I can't even finish the sentence. It's just mind-boggling to think that that is happening. There shouldn't be an uplift in the energy cap prices, specifically when you go out and you see the profits that these big companies are making and the dividends. And I understand an element of those dividends go to stock prices when you're investing into pensions and elements like that, but they're not going to be realized until, a very, very long time. Whether or not we'll be old enough to actually see a government pension based on the way this government's going is all going to be about private pensions than anything else. And it could have been avoided. I remember speaking to my local MP, which is Andrew Jenkins. And I mentioned to her because this whole thing with the cost of living crisis, and I felt compelled to attend one of the open events and said, it's ridiculous. Why are you doing this? Now's not the time to put a burden on people's energy bills and do it right now. And that's me going up to my local MP and actually telling her this. I said, she was actually the whip at the time. She still is a whip. And I remember saying to her, and she goes, she actually agreed. And I went, well, you're in a position of power. You can infect all your local constituents. If you still want to be an MP for Morley and Outward, you'd be on to Boris Johnson and everyone else to say, and Rishi Sunak to say, that is not what to do. You need to hold that back for a couple of years before you make a decision on that. People are just recovering from a major pandemic, and businesses are just recovering from a major pandemic. And, finally, they're having the trust and the elements to actually invest. And things were going really, really well in 2021, an absolutely crazy year, but not the likes we'll ever see again. Clients come up to me and say, new clients saying, oh, we're seeing a drop-off in performance compared to 2021. We had such a great year. Why aren't we doing better than the year before? And I was like, well, they were unmitigated circumstances where 2020 was such a dead year that 2021 is when people started having more confidence, had money in their pocket from furlough to actually spend, and they went out and spent it. Don't expect the same results in 2022. And then with the impeding cost of living crisis, and now that we're in a recession, consumer spending is limited. But it's not all doom and gloom. I know I've been on a little bit of rant and I blame the government and I've gone into a bit of detail, but at least I'm giving my personal opinion and option about that. Do I agree with everything that's going on? No, I don't. I actually agree with the movement where a lot of people are going to refuse to pay their energy bills when it comes December. I mean, all credit for you if you do. I hope most people do, because that's the biggest statement you can give. There's a reason there's rail strikers on strike right now, and it is disrupting every part of our living. We talked about it. We're talking about earlier, I couldn't get a train ticket down to London for the 19th because of the rail strikes due to an event which then got moved to Sunday being there. But to go down on a Sunday, come back on a Monday, it's cost me 150 quid to get a train down from Leeds to London. I looked just naturally, Leeds Bradford Airport to London Heathrow, a flight. It was Flybe, £113 return. It was cheaper by £35 to fly down to London at that point than to get the train down. But the irony would be I'd be stuck at London Heathrow having to probably spend £50 on an Uber from London Heathrow to London City because I won't be able to get on an underground from London Heathrow anytime soon to get into London. So it is having an impact, but at least they're making a stand. Because your MP's wages have all increased. I'd ask anyone to have a look at MP's wage bills increase and how much they've increased over the last 10 years compared to, public service. So I'm a big fan of public service. I had a kidney transplant. Most people know this. So I value our NHS. I value our public service employees and everything like that. And I run my business ethically, and I support our staff by making sure they get significantly more than the living minimum wage they need, and that they're comfortable and not